What up, nerds? Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative. My name is Leslie Smith, and today on the channel I am going to be doing my first ever TBR 10. I have been reorganizing things to make it easier, more fun, so that I can keep up with reading, keep posting content on the channel, and take care of everything that's going on in my personal life. One of the changes that I'm making that is new, starting with this video, is a new way to do my TBRs. I'm calling it the TBR 10 because, wow, this is going to be really original. You probably have not even remotely guessed what I mean. I am going to do a TBR video. It's going to be 10 books. Just because I am choosing these 10 books for the TBR does not mean I'm not going to read additional books. If a book comes out that I really want to read, I'm going to stop and read that book. Now, that is not to say that I'm throwing out the window books that I have accepted to review from authors and publishers. Those are still going to happen in the time frame that I made those commitments. This is just a new fun way for me going forward to have a little fun and spontaneity with my TBR. Now that I've rambled on forever talking about this new concept, let's get into what the first 10 books are on my TBR 10. Now, those of you who watched my April TBR, there are a couple of books that I'm going to mention today that as of date of filming, I have not read off my April TBR. They're carrying forward. It's actually still April. So I might get some of these read in April, but you know what? That's okay. I'm abolishing that monthly rule. But I wanted to mention them because they are top priorities to get to on my first TBR 10. I actually think I'll go ahead and lead with the April TBR repeats so we can quickly get past those and out of the way. So the first one here that I'm carrying over from the April TBR is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which this brings up another thing that I wanted to mention about this new TBR 10 concept. Fourth Wing is the first book in a series by Rebecca Yarros. When my patron pick of the month for April, John Palladino, chose Fourth Wing, I went ahead and picked up the second book in the series, Iron Flame, I believe it's called. It was on sale, and something I wanted to do going forward beginning in 2024 is if I start a series, I want to keep going with the series until I either catch up with all the books that are out or finish the series. So if I read and enjoy Fourth Wing, I'm going to go ahead and read Iron Flame, which, because I have no time limit on these 10 books, I can absolutely do at my leisure. If I want to do it immediately, I can. So I'm going to be reading Fourth Wing. This is a fantasy romance that has dragons in it. If I remember correctly, this one is centered around a war college, and everyone at this college appears to have some sort of agenda. Once you enter, there's only 2 ways to leave: graduate or die. I hope I'm gonna like this, but I also won't mind if I don't. I think I'm gonna have fun with this one either way. I've seen so many reviews on both sides of the spectrum about this book, and the ones that didn't like it, their reviews are absolutely hilarious. So I think it's going to be fun to either understand where those reviews came from or not understand how they didn't love this book. Either way, it's going to be fun to read and review. My other carryover from the April TBR is The Reformatory by Tanana Reeve Dew. This is a book that I requested specifically from Saga Press to read and review. I was over the moon when they sent it to me. When I sent in the request, they didn't say anything. They just sent me the book. So huge thank you to Saga Press for the free gift. I'm looking forward to this book so much. This one caught my attention because it has ghosts. The Reformatory takes place in Jim Crow, Florida. It follows the story of Robert Stevens Jr. Robert finds himself in a bit of trouble, and as a result of this, he's sent to a segregated reformatory school. Of course, this establishment looks like a school on the outside, but on the inside, Robert discovers it's nothing but a chamber of terrors where he sees the horror of racism and injustice, not only for the living, but also for the dead. I love when an author blends historical fiction with horror. I cannot wait to read this book. It looks like the last carryover that I have from the April TBR video is Fourscored by Andrew D. Meredith. This is the second book in the fantasy folklore series, Needle and Leaf. The third book should be coming out very soon. I have seen Andrew D. Meredith teasing on Twitter about something to do with the new book, and I really hope it is the third book in the series because Once I get this one read, if that one comes out in the next couple of weeks, guess what? I'm going to be reading it. Very excited. I need to see if I've already purchased the audiobook for Fourscore. The author narrates his own books and he does a fantastic job. If I haven't, I have an Audible credit that is ready for me to use on it. I expect Fourscore to follow in the same lines as Thrice, the first book in this series. Beautiful world building filled with Slavic folklore and the journey of life that binds the travelers that you meet along the way together. I just absolutely loved the first book. Cannot wait to get into the second book. And then the third, which the title escapes me if it's been announced. I'm not even sure it's been announced. I need to go look at Andrew's Twitter feed today and see if there's been any new developments. That takes care of all of the housekeeping for the final books that remained on my April TBR that I'm carrying over. Now let's get into the new stuff that's on this list. First, I have an ARC for a short story collection by John Palladino called Before the End. This short story collection features characters from The Trials of Ashmount, which is the first book in John's series, Tragedy of Cedain. Other stories in the collection are backstories from characters in Buzzard's Bowl and the third book that is coming soon from the Tragedy of Cedain series. And I believe there's a couple of stories that are unrelated to the series, or maybe those characters might find a home in the series later down the road. I am so excited. If I can't have book 3 in this series, at least I can have short stories featuring some of the characters from this series. And I don't even care if these stories are about my favorite characters or even the characters that I love to hate. These characters in this world are so amazing. I cannot wait to get some dirt on some of these characters. Oh, I forgot one. So there's an ARC. I've been holding a place on my TBR for months now. I can't wait to get my hands on it. It's the third book in the Will of the Wayfinder series by Lily Ann Crow. I think I'm going to be getting the ARC in my hands next week or the week after. The author just announced the title for the book. It's called Lament of Frost. I have no idea what this one's going to be about. I'm actually still reading the second book in the series. I recently reread the first book in the series, Dreams of Dust. The second book is River of Stars. When this video goes live, I will have finished. I'll have a review. I'll have both of those linked in the description if you want to check out the series. If you're a reader who likes fantasy stories and series that are quest-based, action and adventure, found family, fantastic world building, intricate and interesting magic system, then I would absolutely recommend giving this series a try. Next on the list, I have another horror ARC. I am so excited to read this. Paul Tremblay has a new book coming out in June of 2024 called Horror Movie. If you are a longtime viewer of the channel, you may be going, wait a minute, has Leslie ever read Paul Tremblay? I don't recall seeing any reviews or any videos about this author. You're right, I've never read this author, but he's good friends with another favorite author, Stephen Graham Jones. So Paul has been on my radar for a while, and I was looking on NetGalley and I saw this title when it got added, read the description, and I immediately hit the request button and was approved. I'm gonna read you the line in the book description that caught my attention and see if it catches yours. An obsessive, psychologically chilling, and suspenseful twist on the cursed film trope that breathlessly builds to an unforgettable, mind-bending conclusion. I love cursed film or lost film, found film. I love that trope. Y'all, when the Blair Witch Project came out in theaters, I went on opening night and I was one of those that believed it. I thought it was truth. I mean, some of it may have been, I chose to believe it. I wanted to believe it. I was also super young. I was probably 22 when this movie came out, if even that. Gosh, how long has that movie been out? Forever. Anyhow, I love that sort of thing. I recently rewatched the first Insidious. Is that the one with Ethan Hawke where he finds the old film in his attic of the new house, the house he moved into because a family died mysteriously there? Love it. So I am looking forward to a good time with this one, and I hope Paul Tremblay delivers. I have another ARC on this TBR 10. I have to confess, I don't know much about it. I cannot remember anything except the author is A.R. Whittam, who wrote The Legend of Blackjack. I remember a year ago, give or take a few months, Andy put out a form on Twitter about 3 fantasy books centered around a character named Rooker Flynn, who I believe is in the same world as The Legend of Black Jack. I am really floundering with this one. All I knew is Andy wrote it. I wanted to read it. I signed up way back when. I recently got an email that it was with the line editor and I should be getting the arc in a few weeks. So if you're someone who has read and become a fan of The Legend of Black Jack and you're looking for more from this world, the good news is you got 3 books coming your way. And you know what? If you stick around the channel, you will be treated to non-spoiler reviews for all 3 books. I am so excited to read these and get back in this world. I will be reading and reviewing The Redemption of Morgan Bright by Chris Panettiere. I read and absolutely loved the science fiction novel he wrote called Stringers. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you have seen many mentions of that book. It pops up in every single video where I'm talking about favorite books, books that make me happy, books that always make me laugh, comfort reads, favorite science fiction. That book has always made an appearance. So when Chris told me he was writing a horror novel, I about came unglued. Could not wait to get a hold of it. I am so excited to see this side of Chris Panettiere. What is he gonna do with horror? Because the other book I read was science fiction and it was so creative, it was so funny. Loyalty, friendship, found family, and I'm going, how can this person write horror? Don't mistake me. While I'm saying I wonder how this author's gonna write horror, I'm not saying that I don't think he can. I'm saying I am excited to see how he's going to do it because I think he is going to be really good at it. Morgan's sister Hadley died on the road leading away from Hollyhock Asylum. A year later, the police still have not been able to solve this case. So Morgan decides she's going to assume a fake identity and enter into the asylum to see what she can dig up on her own. Y'all, anytime a horror novel takes place in an asylum, oh man, so good. I have never been disappointed reading a story that takes place in an asylum. Immediately popping into my mind, my favorite one to date is The Patient by Jasper DeWitt. If you have not read that book, that's another one I would highly recommend getting the audiobook. Just superb. And last I talked to Jasper, that one was getting optioned for a movie. I cannot wait if that is the case. All right, y'all, hang with me. I got 2 more on this list. My next one on my TBR 10 list is The Fall of the Giants by Gregory Contaxis. It's the 2nd book in his grimdark fantasy series, The Dance of Light. My goodness, I was so shocked when this one came in the mail recently. I mean, the author sent this to me to read a review, but I actually asked to read a review. I requested it from the author, and for him to be so generous as to send me this beautiful copy, I just about fell out when I opened this book up. I read the 1st book in the series and I liked it, was definitely interested in continuing on. I then read the prequel novella and was just absolutely floored by the direction that the series took and just could not wait. Literally begging in the author's email, like, please can I read the arc for book 2 when it's ready? If you like classic fantasy, just that beautiful, elegant style of storytelling, you will love Gregory Contax's writing. And like Fourscored that I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of folklore and mythology in this one. I really thought it was going to go in a different direction based on how the first one ended, but it took a left turn at Albuquerque and I am here for it. I will include a link to my non-spoiler review down below if you haven't read it, but if you have, where this one picks up, Elliot is going on a mission to the Forgotten Mountains. He is going to see if he can find the elder races and break them from this supposed curse that they have on them, this ancient curse that has caused them to hide and distrust humans. So Elliot has his work cut out for him. He's got to find them, he's got to break this curse if it exists, and then he has to earn their trust because the elder race is pretty much his last hope for being able to defeat the evil villain Walter from taking over the realm. And my final book that I'm going to put on this list just came in the mail yesterday. This is Emily Henry's newest release, Funny Story. I cannot wait to read this one. It is going to be a train wreck. This is a contemporary romance. I read Book Lovers by her as part of a project. I thought it was going to be one of those books I was going to have fun making fun of. Well, the joke's on me because I fell in love with that book. I have been tearing through Emily Henry's books since then. I have one other book by her I need to get read, and then I'll have read everything by her. So our main characters, Daphne and Miles, they have absolutely nothing in common except one thing. And that one thing leads to them becoming roommates and also forming a tenuous friendship, which leads to this terrible plan of theirs. So Daphne and Miles, how they came to know each other is Daphne's ex-fiance is now engaged to Miles' ex-fiance or ex-girlfriend. So what they have in common is their exes are engaged to each other, and this plan that they come up with is they're going to post all these misleading photos of Miles and Daphne having all these different adventures over the summer. They're going to post those on social media and see what happens. And what happens is, obviously, it's a contemporary romance. These two are going to fall for each other, and it's going to be a mess. An absolute mess. I can't wait to tell you all about it once I get it read and reviewed and see if it's going to hold up to my top 2 favorites, which are Beach Read and Book Lovers. So I'm not only excited to read something new by Emily Henry, but I'm excited to see how it holds up to her other books that I have read and loved. And that's going to do it for this video today. Those are the 10 books on my TBR that I'm going to get read before I do another TBR video, and maybe, depending on how things work out, the next TBR video, I get to unveil the second fun way that I'm going to be doing my TBR 10s in the future. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're looking forward to seeing reviews of some of these books as they start popping up over the next few weeks. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.